Welcome back to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Marie Ellis has one of those stories that proves the resilience of the human spirit in spite of drugs, alcohol, and the hand you've been dealt. It is an unbelievable and inspiring story. The name of her book, Memoir of a Madam. How you doing, Marie? Now, you say recovery and writing brought you clarity.
Well, how it started was I was in a recovery house, and I had started working with other women that were sharing their stories. And I kept hearing this voice in my head: "You need to write a book. You need to write this down. You need to write a book." And I remember sharing my story I had a sponsor, which is kind of like a mentor in recovery.
Okay.
And I shared it with her, and she said, "You may never hear your story in these rooms. You need to share it." And so I started writing. I just started writing from what I could remember at the time, because when you get sober, a fog begins to lift off of you. I don't know how to explain that, but it's like you become more aware. The truth becomes more available. You start remembering things that you actually had numbed yourself from thinking about in active addiction and alcoholism. So I started on a computer. I just started typing as far back as I could remember. I tried keeping a timeline to the best of my ability at the time. And I just started writing all these things. And what happened when I was writing all this, I started seeing my own sicknesses, my own patterns, my own accountability. And I was able to share this with my sponsor, who kind of helped guide me along the way, which was also part of the 12-step program, which helped me with some of my healing. Actually, it was a huge part of my healing.
So what is your story? Did it start when you were a child?
Yes, it definitely started. I kind of have a belief that childhood trauma is a gateway to addiction and alcoholism. My mom was kind of like a biker woman. There's other words we use. I'm trying to be polite here.
A biker woman?
Yeah. Anyway, so we was raised in a very alcoholic, drug-induced atmosphere. My stepdad was a pimp, and when I was 7 years old, he started molesting me. And I can't tell you the age, but it was between like 7 and 8.5. In that area, he drove a cab, and he started putting me in the backseat of a cab, and was using me as turn tricks, turned me into a child prostitute.
Oh, Marie.
It was definitely a traumatic, I had so much anger. There was so much hate for my mom, which I didn't understand. As I got older and did some recovery, I learned it was because she didn't protect me. I blamed her for everything. The hate I have for myself, that I had inverted, the not knowing that I had the power over my own body growing up. Right. So I ended up turning into a madam. This is how it all started, because I was trained to be a prostitute, I learned how to be a little more controlling and became a madam, and was basically carrying that demonic behavior with me everywhere, in relationships that I couldn't keep because I didn't know how. But there was the alcohol for years was my crutch. And then I started using drugs, and that was a definite downfall. So getting sober and being able to share all this junk with another human being, to look at another woman and say, "Hey, this is what happened," to look in a group of women and say, and be able to cry and open those floodgates and look what people call weak, but it was the strongest I had ever been. It was not a weakness. I was finally strong enough to share, because they made me feel comfortable. They let me know I was not alone and I was safe. I was in a safe haven.
How did you break out of this life?
The honest answer I have is exactly what I'm saying. I was almost dead. I literally tried to commit suicide when I was in my 40s. If you really look back, my book wasn't even finished till 2023. So it took me years of sharing, of relapse, of tears, of anger, of it's not something that happens overnight. Like it's a process. My sponsor's boyfriend said to me one time, and I'll never forget it. So I got sober in 2010. I relapsed a year later, And I called my sponsor crying, just bawling, like, I can't do this. Everybody else can do it. It don't fit for me. I can't do this. And she's like, you sit still. I'm going to have David call you. I got to go to work. And her boyfriend called me. He was also in recovery. And he said one of the greatest things to me. Girl, how long have you been living in the dark? How long have you been running into the deep, dark forest in the cold, just getting darker and darker and darker? And I'm like, 41 years. Like I'm bawling because of the guilt I feel. He said, exactly. 41 years. So why do you think in 1 year you can turn all that junk around? You turn around, you start walking back out. It takes time. You're not giving yourself time for the process. Now, it took a long time for that to actually register, but it's true. The healing don't just come. You actually have to be willing to go through the process. And the process is uncomfortable. It's painful. It hurts opening up those wounds when you're sober, being of sound mind. It's like the visuals you have to reenact, all them things you see, all that pain you feel. It comes to the head, it comes to the surface, and you're able to get rid of that junk with somebody and know that it wasn't your fault. I am responsible for my own actions. I do have control over my own body. This is my life, not somebody else telling me what to do. Right? It's a process. I tried to commit suicide. My 15-year-old son found me. I believe part of the guilt from that was what kind of got me started on the right track. It still took a lot of time. I've only been sober 7 years. So wow. From 2010, I started that process then, but it was the continually going back, the people I had in my life. I think that was, and finally starting to get some aha moments. Like I wanted to live. I didn't want to die. But in the moment that I tried to commit suicide, I wanted to die.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
No.
I just didn't know how to do anything different. I didn't know any better. I had to learn better. And I needed the right people to kind of guide me, to have patience with me not knowing, to know I'm going to that's crazy. That don't work. That's weak. When really it wasn't weakness. It was more of a strength than I didn't know I had.
How do you share this? Who do you share this with?
I want to share this in groups of recovery. And that's where my sister-in-law has given her mom, who's in a book club, who her son runs a recovery house in a couple of cities over. Hopefully it'll get to these kind of groups. Like I wanted to get the women that I know are powerless and they feel like their body is nothing, because my story is not, as much as I like to think it's unique and it's like my story. Well, the truth is this is happening all over the world. This is happening everywhere. There are women who are suffering every day. There are kids going through what I went through right now, still today, and probably maybe even worse and more often. It's such an epidemic.
So you are starting, but I would get on Facebook. I would look up every podcast that deals with recovery, human trafficking, women, prostitution. There's a million podcasts out there. They're always looking for guests.
I never thought of that. Well, this has been my issue. So it was finally published in March. Well, June 24th was when the book became available. And I have fought this argument in my head that even if I want to publish it on my Facebook, because I have grandkids and I don't know if my story is very graphic. There's a lot of personal, intimate details about things that I have done. There was a whole chapter about the prostitution and the way I was raised. And, but it also goes into the recovery and the healing process of it too. But you kind of have to hear the whole story to understand the healing process. So I had to be very honest. And I was really trying hard to keep this away from that's why I used a pen name. So my grandkids wouldn't have to hear from their friends ever. Oh, that was your grandma? That I don't know. And I've prayed on it. I've prayed hard on the next right steps.
Well, Marie, I believe you will find a way. Marie Ellis, author of Memoir of a Madam. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you for taking time to listen.
When Christy Marie accidentally discovered she was adopted, her whole world changed, and it was a difficult road to navigate. She shares her journey in her book, The Light Beyond the Storm, a journey through damage and enduring faith, based on a true story. I have to say, Christy, this is quite an accomplishment for you, isn't it?
This was my first venture. It was something that I tried to do for many years, and I just decided to just start writing notes, because I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would have these thoughts of, well, it was my life. And I had so many different drafts of the book. And I kept telling myself, okay, well, you're going through all of these ventures for some reason. You need to put it on paper, put it out so that others that experience this will, can benefit from your ventures. You're not going through this for just no reason at all. So I felt that was my purpose.
You had no idea you were an adopted child.
Not until I was in my 20s. I felt that there was something different. And I kept asking my mother. My father passed away when I was 17. But I just knew something was different because I looked a little bit different. Skin color in the African American community is really not a thing because there's so many different variations of skin color. However, I just felt a little different. And I was treated a little bit differently by my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, but I still there was just a feeling that I was out of place, but I couldn't put my hands on it. And so when I finally got my first real job, I had to get some paperwork for that job. So I needed my birth certificate and some other papers. Well, when I was looking for the birth certificate, I actually came across the adoption papers.
Oh.
I was in my 20s at that time. And my mother was with me. My adoptive mother was with me at the time. And I did not let her see me, looking at the papers. So I kind of hid them until later so that I could actually read them. And I read it, and it said that I was no relation to the adoptive parents. So, after about 2 or 3 days of stewing on it, questions in my head, I approached her. Well, she was livid. I was never supposed to know anything about it. And she really got angry with my aunt, my father's sister, because she thought that possibly she had told me. And I was like, no, Mom, I did. I found these papers and I produced the document to her. But it was a family secret. I was never supposed to know.
Why was that so important for them to never tell you?
I'm honestly not sure, but I think that maybe that was just a thing back in the day, that it was just family secrets. And that's what the older I get, the more that I realize that a lot of communities just did not want children to know, because the fact that my mother, I think she was afraid that I would go to find my biological family and then leave, because I was raised as an only child. And I always wanted brothers and sisters. So,
did you go into a downward spiral before that, or once you found out?
Once I found out, I was really hyped up to find my biological family at that time, because I was like, oh my goodness, there is someone else out there that's like me, because I felt like I didn't belong. You just have this feeling. And I was like, oh, my feeling was correct. And maybe I do have brothers and sisters. And I was really afraid also because, I was still single. So, in the dating world, I don't want to date, a possible biological family member.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. That would be bad.
That would be bad, yeah. Children with green horns. So, so I was really you know, excited to find out that fact because the state of North Carolina has closed adoptions, and I didn't realize how hard the search would be. But then I did, after the search became harder and harder, I did get really depressed about it. And I kept questioning my mother about it, and she did not give me any information. Like, she would give me conflicting information each time I would go back to her with the same questions to see if I would get the same answer, but I wouldn't. Then she would say, "Okay, well, your dad handled that because he had, passed away earlier." So I felt like I just didn't get any support.
So as a result of this, once you did start dating, things didn't work out.
They didn't, because I always, I would start questioning the person, who are your parents, and things like that. Um, there were a lot of failed relationships, even when I was a teenager. So this was even before I found out that I was adopted. When I was 14, I dated an older guy. He was 20, and that was a failed relationship that was filled with emotional and physical abuse. And then it would always end up the same way. It was always an abusive type pattern. And, I kept questioning myself, why am I getting into these types of relationships? I would not present myself that way. I would and because I think I was just looking for love in all the wrong places. And
Well, love you could count on, love that, nobody would lie to you, nobody would try to hold things from you. So eventually it appears that you got some help.
yes, I did. When I got married, and I started having children, I saw the red flags in my marriage also. And I ignored them because I said, okay, well, I'm married, I have children, I've got to raise my family, I've got to do what I need to do. And I went into therapy. Meanwhile, I'm still searching for my biological family. But after I finally just had enough, and it was many, many years, and I left. Um, the man that's depicted in the book, he actually found the home that I grew up in, and he started talking to my adoptive mother. So when I would come home, I was married at the time, but when I would come over, because I was taking care of my mother, he would actually be here when I was here, but I did not know this man. He looked really weird. It was like he was in disguise or something. And I would always tell my mom, "Who is he? He looks like he's undercover. Leave, don't let him don't let him visit you. There's something wrong." Maybe he's running from the federal government or something. I always thought there was something weird about him. But she said, "No, he's stopped by. I met him, he stopped by, and we just talk about the Bible." But he was very interested in myself and my daughter. So finally, when I did get in contact with my biological family through Ancestry, um, I found out that I have 5 sisters. So that's where the girl thing came from. And I talked with them, and they said that definitely that was one of my uncles. And my biological mother, well, she was alive at that time. So they believe that she sent him to look for me. So all these years, I was wondering, did she love me? But I was the only child that she put up for adoption out of 5 sisters. Well, out of 6 kids, I was the only one.
Oh. So you were able to find your family,
Yes.
and you were able to give help, and you give A lot of credit to the Mental Health Awareness National Alliance on Mental Illness
Yes.
and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Yes, because I did go through a lot of depression, especially when it basically took me 30 years to find my biological family. And, I thought I would never find them. And because I didn't think that my biological mother loved me, or my biological family, or my biological father loved me, because I felt like no one was reaching out.
But there they were. Somebody was reaching out. Oh, man.
They were as interested in me as I was interested in them. And my mother, my biological mother, kept telling her daughters, the ones that she kept, that she did not do right by all of her children. And it was because I had a different father. She was in an abusive relationship, and she was running away from her abusive relationship. And that's when she got pregnant with me. But she couldn't keep me because she went back to him. And that's why she couldn't keep me. So I see how the whole biological thing plays.
Right.
And I had no idea.
Wow, what a story, Christy. Are you going out and talking about it?
There's a place in where I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's called Interact. So I do volunteer there, and I'm currently in school for criminal justice. So I want to use that platform where I can help others that are in abusive situations. So that's what I want to start doing, to get the word out, to help victims, to help people that are going through the same thing that I went through. Because I still feel like, it's my purpose to help others. And because the mental health part of it is really a thing. It's, yeah, I wanted to take my life many, many times.
Yeah.
But thankfully.
You're still here.
Exactly.
I guess you're a big supporter of Ancestry.com too, huh?
I really am. I really am. They really, really helped me. So.
Are you going to keep writing?
I am. The second book actually goes into more depth of other things that I went into that, it would take me hours to talk about. But it continues. It's actually a continuation of this book. And I am, I'm about halfway through now. So I'm hopeful by the beginning of by the spring, I will be at least submitting my draft to Paige.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. So
amazing story. How old are your kids now?
So my son is 31 and my daughter's 26.
Okay, so everybody's all grown up, and now you've got time to really devote to this.
I do, and I do have a granddaughter now, and but in between school and work, and I wake up in the middle of the night with ideas and I jot them down as I did with the first book. It's a very small book. I didn't want to make a novel, but I wanted to make it enough that, and I wanted to make it so that it's an easy read for a younger audience as well as an older audience.
So ultimately, do we tell our kids they're adopted or don't we?
I'm a big advocate for that. People should let them know, and I've told many of my friends. It's a discussion.
All right, good enough. Christy Marie, author of The Light Beyond the Storm, A Journey Through Damage and Enduring Faith, based on a true story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One of the first things John Pigott did when he retired was a genuine act of kindness for a man who played a pivotal role in his life. That man was his high school football coach. Thomas Smythe wrote a series entitled The Eric Lewis Sports Series. One of those books is entitled All Stars. And John, you took it upon yourself to publish this book for your former coach.
So Tom Smythe passed away this past February. And mainly, continued to publish his book because I knew he wanted to do that. So this book comes from a series of books that he wrote. Each book described one particular athletic season in each year of high school. So it was football, basketball, baseball for sophomore year, same thing for junior, same thing for senior. And then this book represents the first in that quote series. Probably, unfortunately, it'll probably be the last unless this book makes enough money to go ahead and publish the next series. So this book basically describes the sophomore year of this character, Eric Lewis. I've got all 9 original books that I've had for years and years and years.
Cool. What's your backstory with him?
I played for him in the Portland, Oregon area and had a very successful high school career working with him. Got a full ride scholarship to Stanford to play football. And I stayed close to him. I'm the executive of his state.
Wow. What was it about him that was so captivating?
He was just really authentic. And he, cared a lot about the kids that he coached. And he did a really good job of taking what I would consider our boys at the sophomore year level in high school and working with them and turning them into men by the time they head off to college. And he did that. He did that his entire career in Oregon, and then he coached for, 20-something odd years in Europe.
So he dedicated his life to sports, to coaching.
Yeah. I mean, he was like a second father figure for me. And he had, I would say, a very significant impact to just about every kid that he coached. We put together a big celebration of life event last May up in his hometown. And we had, 300 people show up for that. Mostly was, his coaching friends and his ex-players. So it was really, really nice.
Oh. So who is Eric Lewis?
Yeah, is a fictional character that is just a super athlete that is, I would say, a cumulative representative of a whole bunch of people that he coached. He takes this kid, Eric Lewis, writes it through Eric's eyes, who is a super great athlete, play hard, play fair kind of guy. And he's the quarterback on the football team. He's a pitcher in baseball, and he's a combination of positions in basketball, forward, guard, etc. In all sports, he's just super great. And it just really describes his relationship with the coaches, relationship with his teammates, really relationship around competing as a team and winning and losing, and describes all of that. And they like make it to the playoffs every year, and they don't win it all. They have some heartbreaking losses, and just describes life from an athlete's perspective, and going through high school and interacting with teammates and coaches and opponents. So it's really an interesting story.
What is it that you think he was trying to say to us through this book?
I think he wanted to give people a perspective of a kid going through high school and competing in sports, and all the ups and downs of winning and losing, of doing, competing as a team, with your teammates, and really describing what life is like through an athlete's eyes and perspective going through high school.
Well, this is part of a series, so where do we find Eric at the end?
Well, Eric at the end of this book has just finished his sophomore year, which is unlike, kind of an unlikely role. As a sophomore, he was a key leader on his team. And, it ends with he's a star athlete, and he's looking forward to coming back his junior year and, competing again. That's sort of the end of the first book. And it goes on, the whole series goes through all his years, junior, and then finally senior year, where he's graduating from high school and moving off to college as a super All-American athlete.
How do you tell people about this book? This exceptional man.
Well, I mean, a lot of people that are close to him know a little bit about this. I mean, that a lot of his ex-players will buy the book. He's, a coaching legend in Oregon, in high school, in the high school ranks in Oregon. But we do have a connection to, a number of his other players, and we're going to try to leverage that with this. We collectively, there was about probably 10 of us that contributed to get this thing published, because we knew he wanted to get it published. And it was really, to be honest, it was a surprise to me that it only represented 1/3 of the stories. We're really waiting to see now. If the book sells enough copies, we'll plow it right back into the next book.
Well, John Pigott, somewhere Coach Tom Smythe is smiling, because you were willing to go the extra mile to get a piece of his Eric Lewis sports series published. The name of the book is All Stars, and you know what? Who knows what'll happen next? Thanks, John.
All right.
An executive for a drug distribution company, writing's been Ray Lee's hobby more than anything else, until now, with the publication of his book, Quantum States. Now, you're the kind of person who always did well in science and physics. You love sci-fi, so really, no surprise, that's what your first book deals with.
It is science fiction. Yes, it is. It's got elements of real life things in it, but principally we categorized it as science fiction. That's what it was intended to be, because some of the scientific things that happen in it, well, they don't know they can do some of that stuff yet. And things like Star Trek or Star Wars or any other thing that's based upon quantum things, they're necessarily going to be science fiction when they're not proven, and that's what I did. So that's where the story came from. I've always had a fascination about scientific principles. Things that were unsolved 50 years ago are still unsolved today, and that sort of surprises me and gives me a reason to think. And then my kids sort of they're not scientists, but they also, we've talked so many times, they've generated a fascination about some of the things that really happen that have no explanation today. And you're wondering if, we're going to find some of this stuff out. So I'm not a trained scientist, but I do have a lifelong hobby and interest.
Do we follow a main character? What's the story?
Yeah. It's largely an ensemble cast, but there's one main character that I channel. A lot of the events of the story go through this one character, but I'd say there are 3 people that get a lot of attention over the course of the story. One is a gentleman named Dylan Rush. He's in a second career after a tragic event in his family life led him to another lady that he plugged into, and she was part of the group that he became a part of, and they were the Nattis, Nattis family, and several interesting things happened in the group that she formed and that he was a part of. And another character they got from some other place, some other event in the story, is got a lot of events tied to his participation in the story. So
what are they doing? Are they scientists?
Yes. He's not a scientist. Dylan Rush is not a scientist. But the other people that are the main characters, they are particle physicists and other folks who have that kind of training such that they understand the nuances and of quantum things and events. And yes, they are scientists. She is a scientist, and as her brother and her other family, that are in the group. Well, what they do is they form an organization of like-minded people worldwide. These people are not scientists. The other people that join, they can be, but they're generally not. But they have a certain view of how the world works. And there's not strange, but there's an interplay of science and religion that all these people seem to share, and they come up with certain things that other people do not.
For example?
For example, they can cure disease. They know how to cure cancer. They know how to do any one of a number of things that have proven to be intractable by normal methods, and that's because they believe that that there's more to science than we've discovered, and their belief in the infinite power of a universe that's 14 billion years old, and that means something to them in a way that enables them, they say, to do certain things that could be amazing to some folks, and or blasphemous. It depends on what you believe. If you believe the universe works this way, or if you believe gods do things, or if you believe any other form of things that cause things to happen, you gravitate toward this group, and they grew from just the 5 people that started it, the family, to several million people who believe this way,
and they believe that God is part of the picture.
Some believe there is a God. Some do not believe there's a God because they want proof of just like today. There are people who think there's such a thing as a God or the gods, as men have done for hundreds of years, and it's still not solved. And some people want to be able to see God and interact with God, and some people don't, because they don't believe there is such a person or a thing. So the short answer is yes, there's a trail of divinity that runs through this book, next to a science thread that runs through this book of scientific phenomena that to create conditions that cause things to happen that people can't explain.
Where do you leave us at the end of the book?
I leave you to sort out what has happened, the effects on humanity worldwide. So you're left to try to decide what you believe. I do certain things in the book. We do certain things in the book that we have an agenda, but we leave it open to the reader to make their own decision where they feel, after they've read it all, if this could happen. And it could or it couldn't, but that's up to the reader. So I leave you to make a decision about the things that you've seen, that and lay those alongside what you believed before you picked up the book. You may decide that you believe something different after you read it.
Does the book end here?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I started out, Alice, with the view that there would be Easter eggs in this book that would lead to other stories. I couldn't tell it all. I couldn't write that many pages if I tried. I guess I could, but I was thinking that it would take like 1,000 pages. So rather than one book, I did it with one book that seeded the ideas for other books to come. So the short answer is yes. I have drafted other things, and depending on how this one does, on if it find any readership or success, that there will be other stories where I have sowed the seeds of what may happen in those other stories. So we'll see. I just finished this one just this past summer, and but the drafts of the other books, ideas, the drafts are already written. So yes, there will be other stories here that if you do get a chance to, if one does get a chance to read this one, they'll see some evidence of where I'm going.
How are you telling people about this?
Social media, book clubs, science fiction clubs, finding the audience that's predisposed to this, more a scientific audience, but if they don't have a religious bone in their body, that might be hard. So I used the context of religion, Christian religion. I could have used anything, but I just happened to use that one, the one I know the most about. And there are a lot of people who already, at some point may have or are still now in church. They have theistic beliefs, and I use that as a backdrop for some of the context as well. So the idea is social media as the primary introduction to people who may be predisposed for this kind of material. I don't have any vampires or romances or that kind of stuff. My sister likes romance novels. Well, this is not that. So she wouldn't likely be in a target audience.
Let her be the judge of that.
I'll let her be the judge of that. But not knowing, Alice, what the answer to your question is, we're going to try a wide net and see what shows up.
Fair enough. You are Ray Lee, author of Quantum States. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Well, thank you for calling me up and talking about my book. Like anything any author writes, we think it's unique in its treatment of science and religion, but it may not be, but we think it is. And I thank you. I thank you in advance.
Andri Rhodes says stories come to her. They always have. So she decided it was time to write one down. So tell me about Amelia's amazing adventure, Boss's Space Accident.
So I had a very vivid imagination when I was a kid. And it's actually based off of adventures that my dad and I would go on when I was little. In my mind, we were special agents, and we had to go and save Boss from different shenanigans he got himself into. So we would, when my dad would get home, we would have to go and save him. So we'd go and get in our spaceship, and we'd go to Planet Yaba.
So the subtitle is Boss's Space Accident.
Yes.
Who is Boss?
Boss he was like the head of the agency, but he wasn't very bright. We were very much into Men in Black when I was a kid. We were special agents for the this organization that helped aliens on Planet Yaba.
So Amelia and Dad have to go to Planet Yaba to save Boss.
Yes.
What did he do? What happened?
He was driving around, and he ended up getting into an accident with this other group of aliens where he broke their spaceship, and he wasn't able to fix it because he doesn't know how. So they took him more or less hostage because they couldn't get home and they didn't want him leaving. So we had to go and find him because he had called me and told me that he was in a pickle and we had to go and save him.
Okay. Is this the kind of thing they do on a regular basis? They save people?
Yeah. Yes. They have, most of their adventures are getting Boss out of situations that he gets himself into.
So I guess there's more than one Amelia's Amazing Adventure.
Yes, the goal is to have 5.
Okay. Do you have access to little kids somewhere? Or how you telling people about your book?
Well, I know I'm working with my publishing company to establish like the social media and that kind of stuff. And where I'm at, there's a lot of like craft shows and vendor shows that I'm going to sell my book. And my family's kind of spreading the word. And I have it on my Facebook page, my personal one.
Okay.
And it's a lot of where I'm at. It's a lot of word of mouth because we're very spread out up here. So I'm going to different vendor shows, and I have a store up north of where I live that sells my books.
So you have a store that's selling this book right now?
Yes.
And can you go up there and talk about it?
I think I can. I would have to speak with them, and I know I've been in the paper, my local paper, before.
How did that happen?
They saw me at a vendor show in the local town, and they came and talked to me about it. And they do different stories on local artists, and they try to advertise for them as best they can.
That's great.
Yes.
Does your little one like your book?
Oh yeah, he loves it.
So he's your best critic.
He'll bring it up to me and want to read it. Yes.
How was your experience with Paige?
It was great. They were awesome. They worked with me because I'm working around my schedule with having my son and working weekends and keeping myself healthy and keeping everything going in my personal life. So they were amazing working with me.
And you're going to publish all 5 books with them?
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay. Andri
Yes.
Rhodes, author of Amelia's amazing
Yes.
adventure, Boss's Space Accident. I look forward to your next book.
Yes.
Michael Perez is an administrator for the Department of Education in Guam. In 2017, he wrote and published his first book with Paige entitled The Scream of Innocence. Now he's completed his second book. It is entitled New Shoes for Sister Sarah. Good work, Michael. Where do you get your inspiration?
The first book that I wrote, The Scream of Innocence, actually started because I was sitting in a meeting and having a discussion, roundtable discussion with a few people, and we're just watching the interaction that was happening at the moment. And when I left the room, I came up with the idea of the interaction being a great story, and that's where The Scream of Innocence came from. New Shoes from Sister Sarah is just something that I wanted to do. It was a murder mystery, and so I started I started that one after visiting New York.
And what happened in New York?
So New York, I would just, walk around, visited Manhattan. It's funny, I ended up staying at a hotel that we were later told that was owned by the Russian mafia. And, we moved to another hotel and we were told that that was owned by the Chinese mafia. And so I was like, thinking, this would be a great place for a story. And what's really interesting is that, as my job as an administrator, I met an individual teacher who is deaf. And he picked up my first book, and he was actually very interested in it. He turned around and said, "Hey, you need to write one. It's a signing. You need to write one about a person who's deaf." And so I had two great ideas, and I put them together. New York is the place, and the story is going to be centered around Sarah, who happens to be a deaf child.
Your synopsis says that Detective Erickson
Yes.
is called to the scene of a horrific murder.
Right.
Where he meets a 14-year-old Alexandria.
Yes.
Who's on her way home.
Yes.
What's going on here?
So that's just the development of the story. And without giving too much detail, what happens is that this is the beginning of their introduction to one another, where they meet for the very first time, and then through the first quarter of the book, they have different interactions. And I want to say what's interesting is that he meets Alexandria, who he doesn't know her name at the moment. That comes later on, right? So he meets this girl that he saw at the crime scene early morning, and he was trying to piece together the events that had taken place. And the very first thing that he noticed as a detective was that there was something very suspicious about this young girl. First thing was that she's under 18. She's out at 2 o'clock in the morning, passing by a murder scene, and she's coming from an area that's behind the lines of the murder scene. And so first of all, he's wondering how she got there, why she's there. And he on the back of his mind keeps her in his head. And then as the story progresses, he ends up bumping into her on more than one occasion. And as the story develops, something that he finds out is that he finds her in odd places. He finds her at the hospital, at the chapel that's right across from the morgue. He sees her on the street, in places where she's not supposed to be, and then he finds her in church. And the reason why church is a center for the two is because whenever he is having a hard time with his case, he goes to church and he looks for a higher authority to help him, right? Goes to pray and asks, because he's very vested in this murder scene, and it hits very, very close to home because he has a daughter himself, and he notices that the person that is murdered is the same age as his daughter, right? And as a police officer, he's not just trying to keep the streets safe, he's also trying to keep his girl safe, right? His high school child. So he notices that there's a lot of similarities between Alexandria and his daughter, and so he kind of creates a bond with her. And so every time he meets her, one of the things that starts happening is that she provides him with insight as far as maybe what he needs to do is take a step back and look at the crime scene from a different angle. And in the story, I kind of explain where Alexandria is talking to him in the church, and she's mentioning to this detective that one of the things that she learned in high school was that she was sharing with him about one of the colonies in the Americas that the first settlers ended up going crazy, and they thought that these people were possessed, and only to find out that they had eaten grain that was tainted with some kind of a bacteria or that made them crazy. And so she is telling him in a roundabout way is that you need to take a step back and look at the murder scene from a different angle, because what you see is not really what is, and try and look at the big picture. And so that's how that develop the relationship develops.
You say in the synopsis that many lives are lost as the killer butchers, tortures anybody who has anything to do with this detective, but I don't understand where Sarah comes in.
Okay, so the new shoes for Sister Sarah in the very first couple pages is Alexandria walking home. And so it's very stormy, and she's mentioning how cold it is, is trying to get home. And the reason why she's trying to get home is because she just bought shoes for her sister Sarah. The title, of course, is New Shoes for Sister Sarah. I didn't really want to put anything in the synopsis about Sarah, because I would have given away the story. So I just, talked about Alexander. And so what happens is that, as he's doing his investigation, he finds out that this individual that was murdered is a underage prostitute. And he builds a connection that the person that killed her is a Albanian mobster who delves in teenage prostitution. And that's where the murders come from, is because, Alexandria now knows who this person is. And this person is trying to, do his best not to be arrested or get caught. And so he turns around. He's a very bad person. He turns around and he starts killing everybody around the detective.
Does Sarah come back into the story?
Yes, she does. At the very end, it's the detective talking to Alexandria. Sarah has bits and pieces in the story, whereas Alexandria goes home and tries to help her sister, who is, deaf, and tries to help her through the hardships of her mother, who is being prostituted by. It just so happens to be, his name is Yosa, is the nemesis to Detective Erickson.
Okay, wow. You've written before.
Yes.
How do you promote your books?
We have a lone bookstore at home. And so it just so happens that I know the proprietor and ask them to sell my book in their store. I've done a few where you introduce your books to libraries and stuff like that, right? Or to book clubs, and like a show and tell kind of deal with libraries and with book clubs.
That's great. So you're talking about back in Guam. That's your home,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
They know that you're an author and look forward to you.
Yeah. So, what do you call it? My first book made the papers. My second book, it was just I don't know. It's a little bit more quiet. It of course went to the news on home or at home, but I guess for whatever reason they chose not to do a story on it. There's attempts to get the book out there and introduce it to different readers or different groups or whatnot.
All right, Michael Perez, new shoes for Sister Sarah. Thanks for talking to me.
Yes, I appreciate the phone call.
It wasn't that long ago that being a stay-at-home dad was considered out of the ordinary, but Romeo Jones didn't have a choice. He explains in his book entitled How I Became Mr. Mom. Now, Romeo, this is your second book for Page, correct?
My first book, I did that about 2 years ago. And that book is entitled What Happened in Vegas Stays in Vegas Until Now. That was the first book.
Okay.
This one is called How I Became Mr. Mom. My wife passed away, and I was accused of killing her. But that wasn't true. She had a mild heart attack. So that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted to let people know that that wasn't true. And I loved her. So why would I do something like that? That's why I wrote the book.
You didn't go to jail or anything, did you?
No, because I had proof from the hospital. That's what happened to her.
I am so sorry. That's awful.
Yeah, one of her relatives did that to me. Her stepsister.
How many kids do you have?
2.
And how old were they when she died?
One was 6 and the other one was he was a year old.
So tell me your story.
I wrote the book about our life and the things that we was going through. And the sad part about it is when she passed away, and and when she died, it just destroyed my heart right there. And it took me a while to recover from that, because I wasn't expecting that, and it really got to me.
So you talk about how you dated a lot of women. There were women in and out of your life, and then you guys met each other, and you knew right away that was it.
Yes, I did, because she was very special to me. We used to go to the park, because we lived about a mile away from the park. So we used to walk around the park and talk and just enjoy just to be with her. So that's what really made me know that she was the one for me, because she was just beautiful, and I just had to have her.
Why would people think that you killed her?
I don't know why she did that. I have no idea. All I know is that she just got mad and said that I killed her. And how I found out that she did that, she told my daughter was, I think, 7 at the time, 7 to 8. She told her that I did that. And it was hard for me to become Mr. Mom because I wasn't used to that. But I made a way to make that happen.
Did you have any help?
Yeah, my mother's auntie, she was helping me with the kids. And that's how I was able to work, because I would bring the kids over to her house and she was helping me. That was the only help I had.
How old are your kids now?
My daughter she's 42.
So why did you write this now?
It happened like 25 years later, after she had passed away, is when her sister did the thing to me.
Her sister accused you of killing her 25 years later?
Yes.
Your children don't believe that, right?
Oh, of course not. They don't believe it. But just the fact that she did that, it shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have done that at all, because there was no truth to it.
So that's why you wrote the book, to set the record straight.
Yes.
What's your hope for this book?
See, we have the strip mall on Las Vegas Boulevard, and I was going to sell them out there.
Are you going to keep writing?
I haven't decided if I was going to do any more writing yet. I haven't decided yet.
How did your kids feel about the book?
They feel great about it.
Okay. How'd you make out with your first book?
I did very well with the first book. What happened was, people walk around all the time, so I just stopped and asked them, would you like to order my book? And they asked me what the book is about. And I told them that the book is what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas until now. And they said it was interesting. And so they asked me, where could they get the book from? And I go to Barnes & Noble and Amazon, just like that. And they wrote down the information. And someone ordered the book while I was there.
So you're hoping that you'll be able to do the same thing with this book?
Oh, yes. It's a good book. It's a very good book.
Okay. All right. You are Romeo Jones, and you are the author of How I Became Mr. Mom.
That's true.
Thanks so much for talking to me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. We hope to see you back here every Saturday night at 8 o'clock, or listen to our podcast anytime on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.